Hello again everybody, welcome back. In this part we're going to talk about Flexbox and how to use and embed that in our designs. So in many cases you don't want your elements to align static and you want to change how your elements show based on which size of the user's browser is going to be. One of the way of we can do and align our elements the way that we want is our Flexbox. And to do that, we need simple div with the class name of container right here. So we can have our divs inside this. Let's say I have 6 div here, which they have number 1 to 6 inside them. And let's give our divs blue kind of background, something like this. And maybe we want some margins all along our divs, and we can have our border so we can see our divs separately. Now here you see I have 6 div, but let's say I want to make all of them in the one line. You know that we have our display modes that we can play with them and change this. For example, if I make this inline, you see how it's going to be. Against this we have inline block thing that you know it keeps the margins and box sizing all along with making our divs inline. But another way of doing this is to have our flex mode going on here. And in this mode, we're going to target our divs and make them inline. But we can do whatever we want to position them in the way we want. For example, here we have another property called flex direction. That here we can define in which direction we want our container to stack the flex items. The first div that is parent is going to be our container, and these one are flex items. So here we can say, for example, we want them to be in column. Now you see we have this kind of stack going on in our container. After this we have column dash reversed, which is going to make this upside down and start from the 6 and go to 1. After this we have our row right here, which is the basic simple thing that we got in the first place, and again row reverse one, which is going to start from 6 and go to 1, and this is going to stack them from right to left. And now let's add class name for our flex items too, which class name is going to be flex-items. And here if I target my flex items right here, I can have maybe a width of 50 pixels for each of them that you can see right here. And after this I can make this, for example, 80 pixel. It's going to show us just like this. But you see, we can't get this 80 pixel right here. And that's where we can use our flex wrap property. And here, if I make this into wrap, it's going to change how these are going to display and give us the number that we want. For example, if I make this 90 pixel right here, you can see it makes the divs 90 pixel, then arrange them to give us the value. And if I make this the simple row, you see that we have the first one, the second one, and because the third one can't fit here, it's going to come one line below. Of course, here we can have wrap reverse, so it's going to start from end to finish, and after this we can have no wrap, which is going to stay just as it is in normal. And another thing that we can use instead of using two properties is we can use our flex-flow property right here. That here first we're going to use our direction that we want. Let's say we want this to be in row reverse, and then here we're going to type we want the wrap or no wrap or reverse wrap right here. Let's say we want this to be wrap. Now you see it's going to apply right here, and if I change this is going to be row wrap right here. Another thing that we can have is to how we want to show our elements in the width of our container. So here we have another property called justify content, and here we have several things. The first one is our baseline, which is going to start from the left and put these right here. And after this, we can have the opposite of this, which is end. And this is going to put all of them into left side. But pay attention that our direction is from left to right, but the places of our elements is right to left. And if I make this, for example, 80 pixel, you see we have 1, 2, 3, then coming for 4, 5, 6. And if I make this, for example, 50 pixel right here, you can see if we have some of them on the top and not fitting others in the first line, it's going to make them come to the next line and started from left to right in the order, but positioning them in the left side. After this, we have center mode, which we can use this to center our flex items inside our flex container. And you know that because this is flex, so it is dynamic. And now we can have this, and whenever our flex can fit these little items inside our first line, it's going to take that and make this to the next line. So let's have this here and a little zoomed in, and maybe we want our width to be 60 pixel right here. After this, we can baseline again with the keyword of flex start, and that's going to do the same thing for us, and flex end going to do the same thing as end to us. After this one, we got another value of the space around, between, and evenly. For space around one, you see this is going to take our div and make space all around our divs. So for example, here if I have only 3 divs right here and they are 20 pixels maybe, you see we have some spaces here and 2 other even spaces right here. And this space is equal with this space, and these 2 are equal. And in the all of the element, these 2 equals one of these spaces. After this space around, we have space between keyword, which is going to put one of the elements in the first, one other to the last, and spread the space between of them between our elements. You see now this is in the center. And of course, if I have another div right here, you see that we have this even spaces going on. And after this, we have space evenly comes right here, which is going to make these parts as same as these parts. Pay attention that when we have space around, these parts are going to have little spaces than this one, but when we use space evenly value, we got all of the spaces as same as they are. But let's say here in our container, we have the height of 200 pixels. And let's say we have the same height of 20 pixels for our flex items. You see now these are in the top of our container. So what we can do for changing these, we can use property called align-items. And here again we have the same things we have for justify content. We have the baseline, then we have our end, which is going to put them in the bottom of our element. We can have this in center, as you see, which they are going to be center inside our div vertically. And let's say if we have some other divs right here going on, and maybe the width of them are 80 pixel right here, you can see we have this kind of positioning, and these are going to be center. And you know that if I make this flex end, they are going to the bottom, and make this flex start, it's going to come to top. Another thing that we can have here is our stretch mode, which when we use this, it stretches the flex items to fill the container as default it was. Now let's say we don't have height in this part, and these are going to shown just like this. And now let's say we have different height for each of these. So here I'm gonna give my divs another class names of item 1 through 6. Our item 1 to have 15 pixels here. Let's say we want our item 2 to have height of maybe 20 pixels. Our item 3, let's say it has height of 50 pixels, and maybe another 30 pixels right here. And we don't need these two here. So Let me comment these out. And now here, if I make the width to the 20 pixels, so we get all of them in the one line, you can see we can use this align items, for example, to put to center. You see now all of them is centered based on their height. And another thing that we can have here is to, let's say we want all 6 of our divs right here at the same height. But let's say all of these are 80 pixels with the width. Here you can see how it's going to manage and position them. So we can use align content property right here, how we want our divs to be displayed based on the height. For example, here, if I use my center, you see all of them are going to come and attach to the center. Of course, we have this with the end, which are they going to be in the bottom. We have them to be in the start of our container, and other values, right, space around, space between, and space evenly right here. And for the times you want to center something inside of your container, let's say here we have only one item in our element. And let's say we have the width and height of 80 pixels for the both, and we want this number to be centered here. So we're gonna make the display of this flex item to the flex, and now here we can use our properties. Let's say we want our justify content to be center, then our align items to be center too. Now you'll see it's come to the perfect center of our element. After this, let's say we have our simple div right here, just with our background and border. And let's say we have 6 items right here. And let's actually add our margin here too, so we can see them separately. You saw that if we make the container of our elements to be displayed flex, we are going to have those control. And when we use this, the direct children of this element are going to be displayed as flex items automatically. But again, we can have control on these flex items too. So let's add their class name to our CSS. And now let's talk about flex item properties. The first one that we can have is our order property. You saw that here we have this order going on, which is come from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But we can change the order by typing this order property right here. For example, if I make the order of this to the 7, you see that this is going to be in the last and not the second one. Of course, we can have this for all of our elements right here. For example, we want to make the order of our 4th item to be 8. Okay, you see now this comes to last. And if you have this order for all of them, you can give this order how you want. For example, let's say we want this to be 3rd one, then this be 5th, 1, 2, 6, and 4. Now you see it's going to be aligned as we give these orders right here. Let's delete our orders right here. Another thing that we can have here is our flex grow property. And if I use my flex grow property right here and give this number 1, you see how it's going to grow and take all of the free space inside our div. Of course, we can have the same thing going on for other values too. And now you'll see these 3 are taking more space than these one. But if you want your, for example, 4th element to take double size of your 3rd one, here you're gonna make how you want your grow to be. For example, if I make this 2, you see this has double size getting of this. Of course, you can have any value that you want. And we have flex shrink property right here too. And this is going to work whenever, for example, we have our flex items to have the width of maybe 50 pixel. Now you see they are not going to be 50 pixel because we don't have wrap right here, that if I use my flex wrap and set this to wrap, we are going to get all that 50 pixel. But because we don't have this, the flex is going to shrink these to the size. But if we make the flex shrink to the 0, you see now that item is not gonna be shrinked and resized and be smaller. And after this, we have another value of flex basis right here. That if we give some values for this, for example, let's say we have 100 pixel right here, actually make this wrap right here. And here we can have our flex basis property right here, that we can give this what size that we want. For example, let's say we want this to be 20 pixels, and that is going to be 20 pixels. We can have this in 50 pixels. Okay, we can have this. And if I make this to the wrap, you see now if I make this, for example, 80 pixel, this is going to take 80 pixel of the width. And after this, we have another value of align self, which here, let's say we have the height of 50 pixel in our first item, and let's make this not wrap, and our item 2's height is going to be maybe 40 pixel right here. Now you see this difference going on. Here, for example, in item 2, we can use align self property and make this how we want. For example, if we want this to be center, you see now this is going to be center as our first one. And of course, we can have this baseline which is going to sit right here. We can have this in the end, so it's going to attach to here, and other values that you learned along this part.
Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.